If you track the channel, of course you know that we love some racing games, and racing toys with a robotic kind of video game edge is right up our street. So this is Hotwheels AI Intelligent Race System, and it may be familiar because it is based on RealFX. It takes that RealFX technology and wraps it up in a Hot Wheels exterior, and I think certainly benefits from it. Functionally, it is largely the same, but there's some nice tweaks, and certainly how you can get into it and understand and get started, the packaging and the explanation, and also some of the controls and interface have been greatly improved as Mattel leveraged their toy maker smarts on that RealFX tech, as you can see in the corner. So the package is quite similar to what we saw with RealFX last year. You get a couple of cars here as Tom just unboxes them, a couple of controllers. The controllers are different, and we'll have a close look at those shortly. And you get this sort of semi-cardboard, semi-plastic track that clips together with little slots, and you can create a variety of different circuits from the track that you get in this starter pack. So here we have Hot Wheels AI. You can see a couple of cars, a couple of controllers. Now if you have played RealFX, this will be familiar. Over here we've got RealFX from last year, and there are a lot of similarities because essentially, as far as we can tell, before racing, this is pretty much the same game. If you look at a couple of these cars together, so you've got the RealFX car on the left and the Hot Wheels car on the right there. Pretty similar in terms of how they look. On the front there, if we turn them over, you can see the sensors and the tech underneath. Again, looks pretty similar as well. I think the Hot Wheels car on the right here feels a bit more robust. The plastic and the quality of the wheels, I feel like this has been a bit of an upgrade. And I think some of the styling, you've got bigger wheels at the back there, and there's a whole sort of rim and tyre system which you can interchange. You can interchange the bodies, which you could do on RealFX as well. And the track itself is switched to blue now. We still have these little tabs that pop into the corners, so you get a tab from one end, like this over here, pops in, and that makes the connection. And again, that was the same as we had last year on RealFX. I think maybe the biggest change, we just pop these cars back, is with the controllers. So this year, the Hot Wheels controller I think is much easier to use. These cars are jumping into life. So on the left, this is the old RealFX controller. Had all the things there. Had a nice novelty of the accelerator underneath and the wheel to steer. But I think in terms of understanding what these symbols meant and selecting different things, it was a little bit complicated. I think you can see Hot Wheels expertise here in terms of the quality. There's a real nice sense of gripping the controller, steering, different acceleration there, and picking each of the modes. So you have a free play RC mode where you can just drive around for free, as in drive around on the track. You can also then have a practice mode here and a championship mode. And each of these modes you can turn on and off the assist, which keeps you on track, and also pick the difficulty, and this difficulty changes colour with each of the modes. Just turn that on. It will connect to one of our cars. English, so we say yes to English.
Well, turn on your vehicle. Vehicle and controller connected.
So these two
Select race mode.
These two are connected now, so you can now see there's a light here. If I pick a race mode, say championship
mode.
I can then...
Player 1, you're in control. Choose your skill level and press the check button.
Shush.
Beginner.
Thank you. I can choose a skill level. You can see currently it's flashing kind of amber.
Advanced.
Goes a bit more red for advanced.
Expert.
And then expert. And if it's like
Beginner.
last year's RealFX, you really do need to practice before you can't switch on the assist yet until you're racing. You need to practice until you go up, because you want that assist. You want to be able to get into the racing, and it takes a little while, a little bit of practice. So what we're going to do now is use a nice new blue track to put together a circuit and see how these cars race. So as Tom here puts together our first Hot Wheels AI circuit, you can see it's relatively quick. You do have to fiddle a bit to get those tabs in place, and they do come unstuck slightly if you have to move it. We decided to go for a little oval track here, and you've got the pit lane there too. I think you need to pay attention on the curves. I'm not sure we've got these curve sections absolutely right. I think there's some different shading going on. The cars seem to cope with how we've got it, but then we get started. As you can see, this is what I like about Hot Wheels AI. The first time you play it, that beginner mode takes you around in a nice slow form, and you can get used to how these cars drive. So the car will keep itself on the track, a little bit like Anki, but all it's doing is just looking at the shaded graduation from the dark outer to the lighter inner. So we've moved up here to the sort of the middle skill level, and you can see the cars go much quicker, and Tom has to do a little bit more steering. It will keep itself on track on this middle mode. It's not until we switch up, here we go, to the top mode that you can really see the racing has to happen, and you have to control that car to keep it on track. It does help you, but if you go full speed on one of those corners, it will come off, so you have to really keep an eye on the throttle as well as keep getting your steering going around the course. Now, of course, here we are just racing with one car. What's nice about RealFX, like some of the other racing games we've been looking at, such as Anki, you can race against a computer. Now, the computer here isn't as intelligent as in Anki Overdrive. We're just going to connect these two. You put the second player on and you press the difficulty level. We're going to take it up to expert, and then we press a button on the other controller and away we go. But the computer will essentially just follow the same line on the track, keeping itself on course. It doesn't know where we are, it just follows the track, so it knows where it is on the track, but it doesn't know where the other player is. And you go through the pits and out around, but it still does create a way for you to practice and for you to take on opponents and to use your racing skill. There's not as much competition as there is in Anki Overdrive. But what I hadn't realised last year in RealFX is that actually there are some attacks. Now, this time round, each car gets 3 attacks. You use the left-hand trigger to attack the other car, and it will create a number of different sort of interactions. It may be that they will have a tyre blowout, it may be that they have an engine failure, or maybe they change gear. Whatever it does affects how the car drives on the track. Now, if you're clever about this, if you leave the track, you know that you need to get back on quickly. So if you trigger one of those attacks as you leave, there you go, as Tom's just doing there, it gives you a chance to get back on. There you go, and he overtook him because the computer car was struggling. You can see after a while the effect wears off and the car can carry on. So there's a lot more tactics going on here than is first apparent, and I think if you had a lot of this track and you built a really big circuit, you'd have a really great race. But where the real fun is racing against a human competitor. So we've got the 2 boys here. This is the first time Ollie is on the track, and so he's getting used to steering round. What's nice, I think, unlike Anki Overdrive, if you do go off the track, you can just reverse and steer and get back online. You don't have to get up. So the boys have stayed seated there, and they're back racing round. The game keeps track of lap time, so it tells you what your lap time is each time round, and also it tells you what lap you're on and who's in the lead. So you don't have to worry about that. Like potentially with some Scalextric racing, you often had to keep track of who was winning and how many laps they had done. But Hotwheels AI does all that for you. So you can see the battle really heats up as you get better at it, and I think there's a real sense of needing to practice and become an expert at the racing here. So it's maybe skewing slightly for older racers compared to something like Anki Overdrive, but each of these different games, whether it's Anki, whether it's Hotwheels AI, or whether it's Scalextric, Arc Air, has a different benefit. And we'll be doing a full comparison of these different racing games shortly on the channel like we did last year. So we're into the closing stages of this race now. I think they picked quite a few laps to turn it into much more of an endurance than anything else. The cars use AAA batteries, and you need some AA batteries in the controllers. But although that is a bit of extra cost, they do last quite a long time, and certainly the battery life wasn't a problem for us. So I think we're into this last lap. Who's going to close it out? Is it? Yeah, there you go. I think Ollie's in the lead. Yes, there you go. Yes! So Ollie wins, and we move on to our next challenge.